More than a year ago, the ILAM FAHARI I-REIT investors received an email from the registrar of the Central Depository and Settlement Corporation, and this email said that they were considering restructuring the ILAM FAHARI I-REIT. I said that was more than a year ago, and so since then we've been wondering what happened to this restructuring. We've been waiting for updates, and finally the update happened. So earlier in the week, the trustee of the ILAM FAHARI I-REIT, and that is usually the Cooperative Bank of Kenya, issued a public notice about this restructuring. And so if you are an investor with this REIT, it's very important that you watch this video, because this video contains all the information you need to know about the restructuring of this REIT. Let's start with reading the public notice as issued by the Cooperative Bank of Kenya. Important dates for proposed conversion of the ILAM FAHARI I-REIT from an unrestricted I-REIT to a restricted I-REIT, and redemption of 36,585,134 units from non-professional investors. So introduction. So on Friday, 25th August 2023, the Capital Markets Authority approved the conversion offering memorandum relating to the conversion of the ILAM FAHARI Income Real Estate Investment Trust, that is the ILAM FAHARI I-REIT, from an unrestricted into a restricted REIT, and the redemption offer of up to 36,585,134 units from non-professional investors. The proposed conversion is part of the I-REIT's ongoing restructuring strategy. A non-professional investor is a person, including a company, partnership, association, or trustee, on behalf of a trust, who either alone or with any associate on a joint account does not meet the professional investor threshold of holding units worth at least 5 million cash shillings as defined by the Capital Markets Authority Real Estate Investment Trust Collective Investment Schemes Regulation 2013. As at the record date, the offering memorandum is issued for the purpose of providing information for the ILAM FAHARI I-REIT unit holders in respect of proposed offer to redeem up to 36,585,134 units from non-professional investors at a redemption offer of 11 shillings per unit, so as to facilitate the process of conversion to a restricted REIT. Proposed conversion of the I-REIT from an unrestricted I-REIT into a restricted I-REIT post redemption of units from non-professional investors, and proposed delisting of the I-REIT from the unrestricted main investment market segment of the NSE, and subsequent quoting of ILAM FAHARI I-REIT units on the unquoted securities platform. The offering memorandum and the form of acceptance portal can be accessed on the ILAM FAHARI I-REIT's website from Wednesday, 6th September 2023. All non-professional investors whose names appear on the register at the close of business on Friday, 1st September 2023, that is the record date, will have access to a portal where they will be able to submit their form of acceptance to redeem their units. Non-professional investors will also be offered the opportunity to top up their units to reach the professional investor threshold. Only non-professional investors whose names appear on the register as of the close of business on the record date will be able to redeem their units through the portal or via the USSD code provided to the registered mobile number. All non-professional investors who wish to accept the redemption offer of shillings 11 per unit should ensure that they fill out the form of acceptance via the portal or accept to offer the offer via USSD, and do not sell their units through the secondary market. Then there is the bit about suspension of trading, where it says that in order to facilitate reconciliation after the offer period, unit holders of the ILAM FAHARI I-REIT should be aware that the units will be suspended from trading from close of business on Friday, 6th October 2023 to Wednesday, 25th October 2023. The jargon-free explanation for this public notice. Number one, this REIT is being converted from unrestricted to restricted. Previously, so previously this REIT was accessible to retail investors, and retail investors is simply investors like you and I, small investors who invest less than 5 million. So before it was accessible to us, and that is why and that is why I created a video previously, more than a year ago, telling you about REITs in Kenya and showing you how to buy the ILAM FAHARI I-REIT. So before it was accessible to retail investors. Now they are changing it from being accessible to retail investors like you and I, to this REIT only being accessible to professional investors. And who are professional investors? Professional investors, according to the Capital Markets Authority, is someone who is able to invest at least somebody who can invest 5 million shillings and above into this REIT. So now they're changing it from being accessible to everyone, retail investors, to being accessible to only professional investors, people who invest 5 million and above. That is number one thing that we know from this public notice. Number two is that this REIT will be delisted from the main investment segment of the Nairobi Securities Exchange and will now be listed on the unquoted securities platform. And sometimes this lesser known unquoted securities platform is also known as the over-the-counter platform. So it will be, if you've been following this channel long enough, you understand the Econ income REIT, right? You know that the Econ income REIT that we buy, how do we invest in the Econ income REIT? We invest in the Econ income REIT through the VUCA platform. We know that the Econ REIT is also listed on the unquoted securities platform. So yes, so the ILAM FAHARI I-REIT is being moved from the main investment segment to the unquoted securities platform. That is thing number two. Now, currently, there are 180,972,300 shares trading or units trading of the ILAM FAHARI I-REIT. This notice, right, this public notice is saying that out of those 180,972,300 units of the REIT, out of those only 36,585,134 units are going to be converted. Okay, so on Friday, the 25th of August 2023, the Capital Markets Authority approved the conversion of 36,585,134 units. That is roughly 20.2% of 20.2% of the 180.9 million or thereabout. So this means that these 36 million units are owned by these 36 million units, these 36.5, let's call them that, 36.5 million units are owned by us retail investors, as non-professional investors. This means that you should check your report from your broker, and if you own less than 454,545 or thereabout units of this REIT, or you have invested less than 5 million, if you've invested less than 5 million in this REIT, your units are being converted, right? Your units are being converted to the restricted bid. So one of the most important question is, so how much will the ILAM I-REIT convert your shares for, right? So they are converting the shares to 11 shillings per share, right? So go and check, contact your broker, or if your broker usually sends you statements, or if you have a platform from your broker where you can check how many units you own, just go and see. So if you own 1,000 shillings, and so ILAM is converting converting these shares at 11 bob, so it will be 1,000 shillings times 11 to know how much money you'll make out of this. And by the way, when I did this post about this conversion on Instagram, it seems that people do not understand when I say conversion. When I say that your units are being converted, it means you're selling your units, right? Because somebody actually asked me a question that after I have converted my units, then can I sell my units? It's the same thing. You're literally selling your units. Converting your units is selling your units. So after your units have been converted or they've been sold, it means you no longer have access to them. I hope that's clear. And then another question is, what happens after the conversion? So what happens after the conversion is that the REIT will be delisted from the main exchange to the unquoted securities platform. Now let's talk about what should you do if you're currently an investor, or if you currently hold units of the ILAM FAHARI I-REIT. What action should you take based on this information? Based on this public notice, these are the things that you need to do as a retail investor. Number one, make sure that you actually own units. Before you start thinking that you need to sell your units, make sure that you actually own units. So the public notice said that you should be on the register of owners by 1st September 2023. Of course, 1st September has already passed, so you should make sure that by 1st September you actually own units of the ILAM Fahari I-REIT. Action number 2 is go to the ILAM Fahari I-REIT's website. By 6th September, on 6th September, there's going to be a form of acceptance, right? A form of acceptance that's going to be live on the ILAM Fahari I-REIT's website that you need to fill. So that is from 6th September, on Wednesday, 6th September. So you need to fill that form. Also, the ILAM Fahari I-REIT will also email the same form to current unit holders, and so they say that the email you receive will also contain a personalized link that you can click in order to submit your willingness to sell your units. They will also send a text message that will have a USSD code that you can use. So they know that some people don't have access to email, and therefore they're also going to send a text message that has a USSD code that you can use, and I'm guessing that USSD code will also have instructions on how to go about it that you can use to sell your units. And then so this process of filling the form of acceptance will run from 6th of September to 6th of October. So we have a month, so you have enough time to go to either the website or use the email or use the USSD code that you will receive via text in order to convert your units. And then when will you get paid? After you fill the form of acceptance, your payment, you'll get paid on Tuesday, 24th October. Yeah, so be patient. That is when the money will come through. What happens? So another common question is, what happens if you do not want to convert your units? So if you do not want to convert your units, you have two options. Number one, top up and reach the 5 million threshold. So if you're currently below the 5 million threshold, you can actually top up and reach the 5 million threshold. Therefore, you will still have access to the REIT. So that is option number one. But of course, there are some people who will not get this message, and so by the time 6th of October comes through, they will not have sold their units, or they will not have filled their form of acceptance, and therefore they will not participate in the conversions. And so what will happen is that the ILAM Fahari I-REIT will bundle up all those shares or all those units. By the way, I'm using the word shares and units interchangeably in this video. And so for those who will not participate, the ILAM Fahari I-REIT will bundle up their shares, and then they will hold those shares under a nominee account. And so when held under a nominee account, you still have rights to your shares, and you still have rights to your rights to dividends. And you can always, even when held under a nominee account, you can always contact the ILAM Fahari I-REIT in order to sell your units or your shares later. Is this clear? Please let me know in the comment section if this is clear. So literally, as retail, so literally this is to say that going forward, retail investors in Kenya will only have access to one REIT. You know, as small investors will only have access to one REIT, and that is the Akon I-REIT. So the other REITs that are available in Kenya, you know, the Lab Trust Imara REIT, now the ILAM Fahari I-REIT, and the Akon Development REIT, all those are now for professional investors, those people who have 5 million and above. In a nutshell, this is what this message means. Now, of course, it's very important to note that if you actually go to between 6th of September to 6th of October, if you actually go to the ILAM Fahari I-REIT's website and fill the form of acceptance, or use the link, or use the USSD code, basically, if you fill the form of acceptance, then after that you're not allowed to go to again sell, to go online, or to go on the secondary market or the NSE to sell your units. After you fill the form of acceptance, you cannot sell your units after that. So you literally, what you need to do is chill and wait for you to get paid on 25th of October 2023. And so now this means that the only REIT we have access to, I feel a bit sad that the only REIT now we have access to as retail investors is the Akon I-REIT. It's a good REIT, yes, but you know, having more options was nice. And with that, let me know if you have more follow-up questions about this process. And as always, like, comment, subscribe. Before ending this video, I wanted to come back and answer one very important question that was sent by a wealth triber on my Instagram. And please follow my Instagram. And the question is, What's the implication of selling and not selling the shares of the ILAM FAHARI I-REIT one holds, and what would be my advice to them? And so, as I said earlier, you have two options, and option number one is to top up and get to the 5 million threshold, therefore making you a professional investor, therefore means that the restricted REIT will still be accessible to you. That's option one. Option two is that if you don't participate in this offer, so what the ILAM FAHARI I-REIT will do is that will bundle up all the shares of the people who will not participate, hold them under nominee account. You'll still have access to your dividends. You still earn dividends, and you still have access to all the rights pertaining to share ownership in Kenya. So that's true. But what's my advice? My advice is that you should accept the offer, because I do foresee that there's going to be it might be a challenge to offload these shares after this conversion, right? There must be a reason why they're converting them, so it's going to be a challenge. It's probably going to be a challenge for you to offload those shares after this, so you'll be stuck with shares that might not be useful to you. So sell them. And also, from the people I interact with, including me, I interact with myself, based on the wealth tribers that I interact with, most of us bought these shares like when they were trading between 5 shillings and 7 shillings, right? And so now, because the ILAM FAHARI I-REIT wants to buy the shares from us at 11 shillings, we're actually making money, right? Because if you bought at 5 and you're selling at 11, bought at 6 and selling at 11, bought at 7 shillings and you're selling at 11, you're actually making bank, right? The only way that somebody will be making a loss is, let's say maybe you bought it in 2018, exactly when that REIT was listed on the Nairobi Securities Exchange, because when it was listed, it was trading at 20 shillings per share, unless that is when you bought. Or you bought on 1st September when this public notice went live. I realized on the trading platforms, on the Nairobi Securities Exchange trading platform, because of the loss of demand and supply, there was so much demand, for the people who got this notice on time. There was so much demand for these REITs, but there was no supply, and therefore what happens? Whoop, the price went up, the price shot. So unless you're one of those people who bought a lot of those units at 10 shillings, and therefore now you're at 10 shillings or 11, and now you're only selling at 11, that's when it will not make sense to you. But for those of us who bought at 5, 6, 7, we are making money. So let me know if you have any more interesting questions about this conversion. As always, subscribe. And my name is Agatha from the Wealth Tribe, and this is where we learn how to build wealth together.